Everyone, my name is Jagan. Today we are going to discuss about the permissions. Uh, so the permissions, like no, uh, as a part of maintaining and securing the Linux systems, it is essentials to understand the Linux file permissions. File permissions in a Linux system decides who can access the files and directories and how to change them and all. So we will see. So just before we get into the permission topic, let us recap what we have discussed in the previous class. In the previous class, we have discussed about the group administration, like how to create the group and how to modify the group, like modifying the group into like group ID, group name, and adding the members to the group. Like it's how what are the commands that helps us to add the single user to the group and the multiple users to the group, and how to remove the users from the group and how to delete the group itself. So we have discussed all these topics, all these commands in a group. Now we'll see the permissions. See, the permissions in Linux is just to regulate the access to the files and directories. For example, someone like someone may have access, like read access to the file. Somebody may have a read and write access to the file or directory, or somebody may have all access, like read, write, and execute privileges to the directories or files. So generally, in Linux, there are only two types of users. One is the root user and the normal users. So root user has all permissions, like he has read, write, and execute permissions. So since he's a root user as admin user, so therefore he has all privileges. Normal user may have may have all permissions, or one or two permissions, depends on the access to the files and directories. Okay, let's see what are the default permissions root and normal users have. We'll see in a detail. So default permissions for root. So default permissions for root is if the file, if it is a file, then what kind of permissions the root has. Okay, so what kind of permissions the root has if the file, if it is a file, he has read permission, write permission, and file doesn't have execute permissions because that is the end of the scope. So beyond the file, he cannot go further since it is a file. If it is the directory, then he can get into the file. He can get into subdirectories like that. So directory has a subdirectories or subfolders and files. Therefore, the directory has execute permissions. The file doesn't have execute permissions. Okay, only read and write has permissions for the root, and or hyphen hyphen and or hyphen hyphen. This is the file. When it comes to the directory, he has read permission, write permission, execute permission, and read permission and execute permission, read and execute. So this is our default permissions for root users. I'll talk in detail what is the RW and hyphen, or hyphen hyphen, and or hyphen hyphen. I'll explain each and everything in detail first. Okay, and default permissions for normal users. So default permissions for a normal user. When it comes to the file, he has read and write, and read directory. So here, read, write, execute, read hyphen execute. Okay. So here, read, see this first three, read, write, and hyphen denotes for root user. Okay. And read hyphen is for normal users, or hyphen for others. Others in sense like neither root nor others. That neither root nor users falls under others category. Okay. So here rw hyphen r hyphen r hyphen. So here rw hyphen, this is for root, and rw, sorry, r hyphen is for normal users, and r hyphen for others. So here, this is the permissions per level of permissions. Read and write and hyphen. There is no permission. This is the file level permissions I'm talking about. So read and write and hyphen. So the root has permissions like read and write. Read and write. I'll tell you. Read. What is the read and what is the write and what is the execute permissions? Okay. And normal users has only a read permission. Others others have only read permissions. So that is how we can split this read write three fields. R W hyphen, this is for R W hyphen, this is for root user. R hyphen this is for normal users, and R hyphen is for others. Okay. Now let's see what is the read, what is the write, and what is the execute permission. So read, it is accessing read read permission. I'm talking about the read permission. It is accessing the file data. When it comes to write is write permissions is like to either modify or delete. So modifying the data and deleting, deleting the data. Write permission is write permission is modifying and deleting the data. Read permission is accessing the data. Accessing is nothing, just to view the data, to view the file content. For example, for example, somebody has read permissions. So read permission is only to, he has the privilege to view the file content. So in apart from the viewing the file, he doesn't have any permissions, like he cannot modify, he cannot delete, the data. So he only has a, if he has a write permission, he only has the privilege to view the file content. If the person has, user has the write permission, he can modify the data or he can delete the data. Execute. So it is executing the file, executing the exe, executing the directory or file. Uh, Executing in sense like, no, you have for example, let's say you have execute permissions. So if you have execute permissions in a directory, you can get into the directory and you can you can run the script if it has any script. So that is execution. So read and write and execute, this is all a level of permissions. So root has all permissions, and normal users may have one or two permissions, others also may have one or two permissions, but ultimately the root has all permissions because he's the root administrator. Next, let's see how we can you know change the permissions for file and directory one by one. So we have seen what is the read and write and execute permissions. Okay, so write is create and modify, delete the directory directory file. So create, write is nothing, just creating, modifying and deleting the directory on file. So let's see in detail how we can how the file and directory has the permissions. Let us increase the font size. See, if you see here, ls hyphen ll. So we have a total 12 files and directories. So if you see here, the first column D RWX hyphen 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 dot and 2 and Bharat and 62 June 22 and times 18 dot 18 colon 7 and Bharat. So this is the first column. If you look at the first column, so D D stands for directory. So RWX is a permissions, read, write, execute, and hyphen 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 Bharat to and Bharat. So here the first column is the permissions and the second column is a file which is linked. Okay, link number of the files, number of linked files here. It to the second column denotes the number, it's the number of links, and the third column is the root. I mean root in sense owner of the file or directory, and second column is the group. So group is created as a name. If you add the group name, then you can add the group name instead of the root, instead of the owner of the file or directory. And third one, third, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So fifth column is the size of the file or directory. 62 is the 62 bytes of the directory. And seventh is the month in which the file or directory is created, and the date, and the time, and the name of the file. Okay, so if you take this one, this first row, if you take the first row, I'll explain it in detail. See here, D stands for directory. There are files that created files and directories. So if it is indicates a D, it is a directory. We can differentiate with this like directory, or if it is a D, then it is directory. If it is a hyphen, the file, if it starts with a hyphen, then it is a file. So here, if you see here, this one, this is a file. So if it starts hyphen, if it starts with a hyphen, then it's a file. If it starts with a D, then it's a directory. So we can make a differences between whether it's a file or directory by just looking at the color of the file. If it is in white color, then it's a file. If it is in a blue color, it is a directory. Or else we can just look at the permissions. Before the permissions, we have a D for directory, and hyphen. If it is a hyphen, then it's a file. You just have to remember. Okay. So here D. So type of a file. So type of what type of file? If it is D, then it is a directory. So if it is a hyphen, then it's a file. If uh, if it is if it begins with L, then it is a linked file. Okay. If it begins with B, then it is a block device files. Okay. So that's how we can differentiate between the files and directories and block device files, or linked files and all. So okay, now let's talk about this here. So here, if you see here, DRWX hyphen 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 Bharat and Bharat, and size of the file, and date and time and name of the file. So here owner is the Bharat and group is the Bharat. So Bharat has the ability, permissions, I would say, the permissions to uh, to read the directory, to write the directory, and to execute the directory. Since he has all permissions, he has a read permission, write permission, execute permission. Read permission since he can view the file. Write permissions is like, he can modify or he can delete the file. Execute is if it is any scripting file or all, he can execute the file. So that's all about the read, write, and execute permissions. And Bharat, if the group is created with the name Bharat, of course, if the Bharat is group is created. If we added the users to the, if we add users to the Bharat, then the users whoever in a Bharat have the permissions to do. But here it's only root permissions. It doesn't have any group permission, because here if you look at here, hyphen 3 hyphens is empty, 3 hyphens is empty. So the group doesn't have any permissions and others doesn't have any permissions. Okay. Now let us change the users and group permissions in a file. Okay. So let us create one directory. Okay. After creating the directory, we'll create one group. Okay. We'll see group uh, grep slash etc slash group. What are the group we have? We'll see. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So we have several groups. Like okay, we have a Red Hat admins name with the Red Hat admins. Okay. We'll add this into the group. We'll make it as a group. Okay. ls hyphen l. So okay, users list we have. Okay, here if you see here, we have a root and root. Will so we have a group called Red Hat admins. Okay. Uh, let us modify the group. Let us change the group to a files list, users list, or any group. Okay, any file or directory. Uh, okay, group mod group mod hyphen g. Okay, so here if you take the example like files list directory, here root is the here we have a root as a main owner of the file or directory, and here Red Hat admins is the group. So here this column is the owner of the file. So owner of the file, it can be root or it can be someone else. So and this fourth column is group of the group. So here the group can be the username itself, or we can change to some other group. We can make it as for example, I changed the group name from the root to Red Hat admins. In Red Hat admins is the group. In this group there are so many users. Okay, so and so this Red Hat admins is a group, and file list has a root user, and Red Hat admins is a group, and others. So here if you look at here, this is a directory, and root has a read write execute permissions, and others, I mean groups, sorry, groups has a read and execute only. So the group a Red Hat admin is a group which doesn't have the right permissions. Right permissions is like modifying or deleting the file. Okay. And others also doesn't have a right permissions. So only the root has the permissions to read, write, and execute the directory. Okay. Now, if you see who am I? Who am I? I'm the root. So I can enter into the directory, change directory, files, list. So this is I can enter into directory and I can see what and all is there. So it has so many things in this directory: country, file 459, file created with cat and all. So in this file list, it has so many files. So I logged in as root, and I can see and execute and you know I do all the things because I have as root has all permissions, read, write, and execute permissions, and he can also view the file cat file 4. So file 4 doesn't have any content, and the cat file file 10. So file 10 doesn't have any content. Cat file. Okay. It has a file created with the cat has a content. So root has all permissions. So if he wants, he can delete the files. Uh, rm rmf file 4. No. So now I have removed the file 4 ls hyphen l l. If you see, so file 4 is not there because the file 4 is deleted. So these are the permissions. So he can create the file. Touch file 6 ls hyphen l l. Yeah, see the file 6 is created. So he has all permissions. He can create the file, he can delete the file, he can view the content of the file. So that is the root permissions. Okay. Now, so we have a root is a user. I mean main admin. Let's then we have a Red Hat admins. Red Hat admins. There are so many. There are a few users. Okay. Uh, let's see the users whoever the part of the Red Hat admins. Great. Slash etc slash. So in a Red Hat admins, uh, whoever and all the part of the group. Okay. So okay. In Red Hat admins, nobody is part of the group Red Hat admins. Okay. Now let's add the members to the Red Hat admins group. How to add? I already said in a previous class how to add the uh, members to the group. The syntax is g pass wd. We are adding the multiple users. Okay. Therefore, I'm using the hyphen m capital M and users like Karthik and Krish Ram. I'm adding multiple users to the group. Okay. To the group Red Hat admins. So we have added the Karthik, Krish Ram to the group Red Hat admins. Let's see Yeah, you see here, Karthik, Krish, Ram is part of the group Red Hat admins. They are members of the group Red Hat admins. Okay, so Red Hat admins. So here, uh, Red Hat admins group, uh, who all are part of the group. So Karthik, Krish, Ram has a or and all are part of the Red Hat admins group. Okay, now we'll see whether the Karthik or Krish or Ram is able to 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 read the file or write the file or execute the file inside the directory known as files list, because these all are members of the group called Red Hat admins. Therefore, let's see whoever the part of the group Red Hat admins be able to access, read, write, or execute the directory. Okay. Now let's log in as a ROM. You hyphen ROM. Okay. Now logged in as a ROM. Okay. Now we'll see how whether he is able to read, write, and execute the directory, because here it is written the permissions read and execute only. He doesn't have he doesn't have write permission. The group, see, the group is only group has a read and execute permissions. The group doesn't have write permissions. Okay, so Ram is a member of the group known as Red Hat admins. Therefore, whether he has permissions or privileges to read the directory, or write or execute the directory, we'll see. Okay, now he's in his home directory, present working directory. Now he's in ram, he's in home directory. Okay, if you see, who am I? He's ram. Okay, logged in as ram, so he's ram. Now let's see whether he is able to execute the directory or not. So change directory, files list, sorry. Yeah, now he's entered into the files list directory, ls-ll. Now he can view the directory, he can access the directory, sorry, because he has an execute permission and he has a read permissions. But if he's try to writing the data is creating or modifying or deleting. Let's see whether he's able to create the directory, cat or touch file by ram. See, the permission is denied because he cannot create the, sorry, he doesn't have a write permissions. So as per the group level permissions, Red Hat admins, because he's a part of Red Hat admins, he cannot create, modify, or delete the file inside the directory. That's because he doesn't have a write permissions. So he has only read and execute permission. He doesn't have write permissions. Okay. So ROM, therefore ROM doesn't have a write permissions. Now let's see, still whoever part of okay. Now ROM is logged out. Now let's see Krish. Let us log in as a Krish. SU hyphen KRISH. Sorry. So Krish is logged in. Now let's see whether he is able to access the directory or not. Change directory files list. So he logged in into directory present working directory. See, this is a home slash files list. Now let's see ls-ll. So he has. Now let's create the one file touch file by KRSH. Permission denied. So so now you can understand the whoever the part of the group Red Hat admins doesn't have right permissions. The permission is denied. The whoever the members in the group can only read the data and execute the data. He doesn't have a permission. The group doesn't have permissions to write the data. So I hope this will all make sense and understood. Okay. Now we'll see how to change the permissions. Okay. How to change the permissions. Clear. So if you see root, root has a read permission, write permission, and execute permissions. And group, what is the group? Red Hat admins is a group. So this group has a only read and execute the permissions. So both root and owner has all permissions. Group the group only has a read and execute permission, doesn't have a write permissions. Okay, so Red Hat admins who all are a part of this Red Hat admins group? Who? Uh, Red Hat admins members. Red Hat admin group members. Who are part of Red Hat admin group members? Ram, Krish. So Ram, Krish be able to read and execute execute. Doesn't have write write permissions. So you can so you I hope this is understood right. This hope this makes sense. This makes sense. See here, write permission is nothing just modifying the data, creating the data, or deleting the data. That is write permissions. Read permission is only to view the content. To view the content. Apart from the viewing the content, nothing is there. Executing is getting to the directory, or if any file, any script is there, then is able to execute the file. That is a execute permission. So that is one more thing I should have explained in first class, sorry, in first initially, is that read actually see we have numbers numerically represented each permission. For example, so read has a 4 number that represents, and write has a 2, and execute has a 1. So so read, write, execute. Read has a number is 4, write has a number 2, and execute is represent the number 1. 1. So read, write, execute. Generally, so if you take it, the permissions in the form of numbers. So he has a 6 and 4, 4 file permissions. If you say in the form of numbers, and 7, 5, 5 for root directories. Default permissions for root directories 644, and file and directory is 755. And for normal users in the form of numbers, 664, 775. So the permissions are represented in the form of numbers as well. So 7 is all permissions read, write, execute, and 5 represents read and execute permissions. Okay, so likewise you can understand the permissions. Okay, now now we have options to change the permissions. Okay, so we'll see how to change the permissions. So we have a command to change the permissions, that is chmod chmod numbers, you can say 644, and group name, sorry, file name or directory. So you can change the permissions with the numbers like 644, or else you can this is the for all, in sense like uh, users and root directory, root and groups and others. Okay, so here as per the command, so we provided read and write access to the owner, and only read permissions to the group, only read permissions to the others. So 644 is denotes 6 for owner, 4 for groups, and 4 for others. We'll see here practically. Chmod. Now if you see here rw hyphen okay, now we can change the files list directory. Okay, now here if you numerical, if you say here this is a 7, this is a 5, and this is a 5, file list permissions I'm talking about 755. We can change from 755 to 744. Chmod 744 to files list. Okay, so okay. So he doesn't logged in as a Krish, right? So he doesn't have privilege to change it. Let's log out, exit. Now chmod 744 files list. So yeah, now the permissions have been changed. Permissions have been modified because no earlier, see, if you see read, write, execute, read, execute, read, execute only. So owner has read, write, execute permissions. Group has read and execute permission. It doesn't have write permissions. Now I'm removing execute permissions also. I'm removing execute permissions also for groups and others. So so the outcome now would be read, write, execute, read and read only. Okay, ls hyphen ld files list. See, read, write, execute, only read or see. This is how we can change the permissions to the directories and files. Okay, so the root has the permissions to change the privileges. So nobody has permissions or privileges to change the permissions. So that's how we can change the permissions with our numbers. Now we can change the permissions to the directory. Okay. See, I changed chmod 744 files list directory, but this files list directory is applied. This is a directory. It is applied to first level only. It doesn't apply to the next level. Next level in sense like no, this file list directory has some subdirectories and more files. It doesn't apply to the subdirectories and files inside the file list directory. Therefore, to make it apply to the subdirectories and the files in the files list directory, we should use the option called hyphen R. Hyphen capital R is recursive. Recursive is option is to apply the this level permissions 7 read write whatever we have mentioned here 744 will be applied to the subdirectories and files inside the file list directory. Okay. Uh, so if we want to see here, we can check it. Okay. chmod mod hyphen r 744 files list. Okay. Now it is applied. Therefore, if we want to apply the permissions to all level like directories, subdirectories, and files, we have to use the option called hyphen or. If the file, then we don't have to use it because the file is the end of the scope. Therefore, we don't have to use it. If it is a directory, then the directory in a directory inside the directory there might be subdirectories and more files. Therefore, to apply to the subdirectories and files, we should make use of the option called hyphen r. So that's how we can change the permissions to the directories and the files. Okay, now this is okay because we are applying the permissions to all in sense like owner of the file and the group of the file and the others. Okay, so with one command with all permissions can be applied to all the users like 7447 for root and 4 for groups and 4 for others. If I want only apply the permissions to the group, or if I want apply the permission to the others or owner of the file, then how can I make use of that? What is an option? What is the command that we have to apply only to the individual level, like user, your main root level or group level or others? So how? Okay, so we have a command. Okay, uh, okay. First, I'll explain in a notepad. I'll explain in notepad. Chmod hyphen r 744 file name, not not file name, directory only, because no file name is directory. Here hyphen r is used to apply permissions to subdirectories and files in a directory. For example chmod -r 744 files list. This is what we have discussed in we have example, right? So uh, here recursive -r is used to apply permissions to subdirectories. R is recursive. R is a recursive. So file list here read, write, and so here the permissions will be applied to the subdirectories and files inside the files list directory. So only if you apply if you add the option -r, and here it should be directory, it should not be file. So file is end of the scope, we don't have to use the -r. Therefore only it is applicable to the directory. So now okay, now I want only to change the permissions or modify the permissions to either root or group or others. How? So what is the command that can be used to change the permissions individually? Okay, so the command is chmod group. Okay, I want to, okay, here U for user or owner. U stands for user or owner. G stands for group. O stands for others. So U user, G group, O others. So here chmod. So I want to apply, I want to change the permissions to the group. Okay. So how? Chmod G plus, okay, uh, read, write, and execute. So what is the file name? The file name is files list. Let's change it. Files list. Okay. So we'll see the in example. Okay. 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 See, file list ls hyphen ld files list. Okay. See, the permissions the file list directory having is read, write, execute. This is owner. Okay. And read permissions only for groups, read permission only for others. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the permissions for groups. Okay, so how to do? Let's see. Chmod G for group. G for group, I already explained it. just now, G for group plus. Now I'm going to give the permissions read, write, and execute to the group to which directory? Files list. Now I change the permissions. Now I've given all permissions, read, write, execute permission. Now let's see ls-ld files list. If you see here, read, write, execute. Now we have given the permissions to the group read, write, execute. So ch the command is it's quite simple. The command is chmod g plus rwx files list. Okay. Now I just want to restrict the. Okay, we'll give the permissions to the others as well. We'll see chmod others. If you want to give permissions others, then the letter is O plus read, write, execute. Sorry, files list ls on ld. Now if you see, so root and groups and others, three of them have all permissions. If the file or directory has all permissions, then it highlights in a green color. Okay. So if all permissions, if the directory file has all permissions, then it will be highlighted in green color. Now we'll remove the permissions. So how to remove the permissions? We'll see chmod. Now I just want to remove the permissions for others. Okay. So how? Oh, bef uh, not to add the permissions or to no to give permissions we have given plus. To remove the permissions is nothing, just minus. Okay, now I'm going to remove the permissions. Execute. Oh, execute only. Okay, I'm going to remove only permissions. Execute. Okay. Okay, read, write, and execute. Or else. Okay, only execute. I'll remove the permissions. So these are others. I'm removing the permissions. Execute permissions. I'm removing for others. For the directory file list. Files list. Now, if you see ls-ld list, see. So if you see here, uh, the others doesn't have a execute permissions. If you see here, now we have removed the permissions execute. So this is how we can add the permissions or remove the permissions individually, either root or group or others. Okay, so so plus is to add permissions. Okay, mod minus read, write, execute. To remove permissions. Okay, to add a permissions, to remove permission, we have a plus and minus. And don't forget to add the group or owner or user or other. So here, starting later, you should add to add the permissions or to remove the permission, add the plus and minus. Okay. So this is how we can add the permissions and delete the permissions, and either individually or to collectively we can grant the permissions to the users, groups, others, you know to the directories or files. So I hope this class is give you some importance to viewers and learners. And I hope this is very informative. If you like the content, and please come back again for more videos, and I'll give you more important information with respect to the Linux and other technologies as well. So please watch and share it, like it, subscribe it, and come back again. Thank you for watching and listening patiently. Have a nice day. Goodbye.